Hello, this is Edwin from Think to Win. I'm here with another deck profile. At this time, as you guys can guess, seeing from the deck box, playmat, and sleeve, it's about Chaos Breaker Link Chokers. If you guys are wondering how to get deck box, I got this as a promo from a Japanese manga. I got the manga for free during the, I think, singles last year when I went to the Continental Tournament. So yeah, I had two of these, which is nice. If not, you can order these on eBay. I think they're not that expensive, so if you really want one of these, get one from eBay. So let's get on with the deck profile. So for the starter, I use Star-vader Dust-tail Unicorn. Basically one of the best starters for Link Jokers right now, unless you want to consistently get your grade 3 off with the break right. This one is better because its ability is Forerunner. If you ride on Link Joker, goes back to a rearguard circle, and if your opponent has another locked rearguard, you can put this into soul, pay counter +1, unlock another one. I'll explain why this is very good later on. So for the trigger lineup, I run 4 draw, which is 2 difference, 4 crits, 4 more crits, and 4 heal. Before this, I was running 6 draw, 6 crit, but for some reason I kept drawing with Chaos Breaker's effect over and over again, so I had the chance of getting deck out. That's why I switched to 8 crit, 4 draw, just to have that critical pressure. And if your combo goes off, it doesn't even have to be with break right, just with unicorns also possible. You will keep drawing so many cards over and over again that having too many draw triggers will make you deck out easier. If 4 draws, there's less chance of happening. If there was another critical trigger, I might have run 12 crit, but there's none. So yeah, 4 draw and 2/2 because I couldn't decide which art I liked more. So yeah, 2 different ones, cats and chicks for the win. So for the grade 1 lineup, I run 4 Perfect Guards, 4 of the SP promo Niobium, 4 Palladium, and 2 Lantanum. I see people running this like in 3/3, it's also good, but the reason why I run it like this is because this early game is very good. The problem with Chaos Breaker early game is that you do not have that much attacking pressure because your rearguards are hitting all for shit. So that's why having something like Niobium is very good. You could run it 2/3 so you have more consistent boosters which become 9k or 11k. But I feel that for me it works best this way. So all of their effects, Lantanum's effect is if this is on a rearguard circle and you lock a unit on your opponent's side of the field, it gains 2k power and it stacks like Doreen for example. So if you lock 2 rearguards with a break right, it gains 4k, which is nice. And Niobium's effect is basically the 10k attacker of the deck. If you have a Star-vader Vanguard, you attack, and it gains 3k, so it will be a 10k attacker. For Perfect Guards because, well, you don't want to get critted by Gauntlet Buster, high numbers, everything. So for Perfect Guards are staple, especially in such a high draw power deck. And for Palladium, basic effect is if your opponent's rearguard is unlocked during their end phase, you can counter +1, put this into soul, and relock. There's a combo with Chaos Breaker which I will explain at the end as well, which everybody probably already knows, but so let's go on with the grade 2 lineup. I run 4 Niobium, 4 Raidon, and 3 Colony Maker. Colony Mate's effect is if your opponent has a locked rearguard, if you call this to rearguard circle, counter +1 and call grade 1 from your deck anywhere on the field. So basically that's really, that's a better Tar2, and it's counter +1 too, so yeah, really amazing. What I usually do is I get either, we grab it, Palladium or Niobium, depending on what I need. If I have several of these in the back row, I don't need to grab this one, right? So I grab this just to have an extra attacker. So yeah, that's for Colony Maker. Very good card. But running more than 3, I feel like it gets clogged a lot in my hand because you really need a lot of counterblast in this deck, and there's no way to unflip unless you keep healing all the time. So now for Raidon because, well, 12k attackers, very good. If you guys can see, these are both also the SP promos, all of them. So yeah, I got all of them. Raidon 12k attacker, if your opponent rides a 7k, they have to block for 10k. You can always hit 11k Vanguards, making 18k rows. easier with this card, well, etc. etc. This card is just very good. 12k attackers are generally always good. And for Niobium, well, I was contemplating whether to run Niobium or Krypton, the 10k. Reason I'm running Niobium was that, well, yesterday I didn't switch out that many cards, and I was playtesting with this, and if you're playing against Crossride, for some reason I kept locking at least one rear guard every turn, so it gained 2k power. So yeah, all of the boosters are 7k. I'm not running Chaos Beat Dragon, as you guys saw in my Grade 1 lineup, so that's why if I boost this card, it will always hit for 18k. With the other card, Krypton, if I do not have Lanthanum behind him, he will not hit past 18k. So that's why I run for Niobium. It really depends on player preference. I prefer Niobium. Some people prefer Krypton. It really depends on what you like to play, and just play test it for yourself just to see what's best. Because for different players, different play styles, and of course, because I was talking with Sonny and we both thought that Krypton was better, but Niobium worked better for me in the end. So grade 3 lineup, obvious 4 Chaos Breaker and 4 Infinite Zero, and 1 Chaos Breaker is SP. Infinite Zero, your break right. Basically, this card is actually which makes this card broken. But yeah, so Infinite Zero's effect is if you break right, well, yeah, if you break right, you can get 10k. You get 10k power, and you can lock a front row and a back row unit of your opponent. So you lock 2 without a counterblast cost and just for break riding, which is amazing, right? Also, other skill, if you attack the Vanguard, you gain 2k power. Yeah, and Chaos Breaker, limit break 4. If your opponent unlocks at the end of the turn, you can Soul Blast 1, retire that unit, and draw a card. Do note that the retiring is not mandatory for you to draw a card because of a comma which is put somewhere in the text. And his other skill is Counterblast 1, drop a card, which is this skill is not limit break, and you can lock a rear guard on your opponent's side of the field, any rear guard, so front row, back row, whatever. So yeah, so that's explaining combos of the deck, which is not that hard. The standard combo is alright, grade 3, your break right, hopefully, then break right into Chaos Breaker, lock 2 rear guards, and then at the next turn of your at the end phase of your opponent next turn, you get the Soul Blast to draw 2 cards, right? Yeah. So yeah, so the thing is that in order there are multiple ways to triangle lock right now, because if you break right, you lock 2 rear guards, right? So you lock 1 in the front and 1 in the back, so you lock this one and this one. Then you can use Chaos Breaker's effect to lock this one. I prefer to use Chaos Breaker's effect because the next thing, because next turn they unlock, okay, blah blah, you Soul Blast 3, draw 3 cards. Then next turn you can lock again by using his skill and use Unicorn skill, because you can only use the second skill once per turn, and this skill, well, since you put it into soul, there's no limitation. So basically you lock the both front rows again, and he does not have 2 front rows. Of course, this cannot happen if you retired both of them at the end turn, but the next turn after you can lock both of them. While the other combo that's also used a lot is this one. So basically I explained that retiring is not mandatory for the drawing effect to happen. So let's see, randomly this card is locked. Okay, opponent unlocks, counterblast 1, put this into soul, relock. And since the retire effect is not mandatory, you can still draw because both effects activate at the same time. And since it only says that whenever opponent's card gets unlocked, you can retire the unit and draw a card. I think there's a comma somewhere, so you can still draw. I myself find that retarded, but I mean, just the fact that you can still, you basically just relock, soul blast the same card and draw a card. fixing itself, but you'll have easier guarding next turn. This is the thing with this deck. It's easy to control your opponent's side of the field, making guarding a lot easier. You get a lot of drop power. You can filter out a lot of cards technically, because let's say you have a lot of grade 3s, you drop grade 3 for Chaos Breaker effect. Then next turn you draw another card, basically fixing itself. And if you lack some soul, you can just write Chaos Breaker for Chaos Breaker, like I sometimes do, or even write Infinite Zero if you do not have anti-counter blast left. So yeah, that's pretty much for that combo. Another combo you can use is basically if you in the turn you lock a unit, one or two or multiple, you can spam Colony Makers and get these cards out. So next turn you can relock them again and then Soul Blast these to draw again. Even if your opponent is stalling you at not limit break, you can still keep relocking, and of course you cannot draw and retire, but the thing is that even if they are at, let's say they're not at, you're not at limit break and you do not get to draw, you have a decent hand to support this, to keep relocking their units. It will be of course easier for you to guard the next turn again, because then even if you do not draw extra cards, they do not have attackers, so that's why it's very good to keep relocking their Vanguards. But I don't suggest relocking all their Vanguards if you do not have that much cards in hands. But what sometimes happens is that I get like 1 or 2 Column Makers off, I get these, and then I keep relocking them, and that's also nice. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of the deck profile. There's not much to explain about this deck except for that you just lock your opponent side of the field and keep Soul Blasting and drawing. There's also one thing that I want to say at the end of this, the perma-lock combo. You just, if you break it with a break right, you lock 2 Regas, right? Yeah. So with Unicorn, you lock the other one. So yes, triangle lock. Then next turn, you can break right again, and you have 1 Palladium on the field. You relock 1 the front row, then break right again, and then you can triangle lock again. You can do that every turn, over and over again, for the cost of 1 counter blast and a break right, which is very nice. Even if you do not draw with Chaos Breaker, you still keep their opponents locked over and over again. But that's pretty much it. So yeah, this concludes the end of the deck profile. Yeah, there have been a lot of Chaos Breaker deck profiles online, so yeah, I hope this was informative. If you guys like our videos, please like and subscribe, and see you guys at the next video.